Section 12, Volume 2 of the Book of 1000 Nights and a Night. Translated by Richard Burton. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Lars Rolander. The Book of 1000 Nights and a Night, Volume 2, Section 12. When it was the 46th night, she said, "It has reached me, O auspicious King, that after the ambassadors and retinue from the Constantinopolitan king had kissed the ground before Omar and had delivered their embassage, they brought out the presents, which were 50 damsels of the choicest from Graecia land, and 50 Mamelukers in tunics and brocade, belted with girdles of gold and silver, each wearing in his ears hoops of gold, with pendants of fine pearls, costing 1,000 ducats every one. The girls were adorned in like fashion, and were clad in stuffs worth a treasury of money. When the king saw them, he rejoiced in them and accepted them. Then he bade the ambassadors to be honourably entreated, and summoning his Wazirs, took counsel with them of what he should do. Herewith rose up among them a Wazir, an ancient man, Dandan highs, who kissed the ground before Omar and said, "O King, there is nothing better to do in this matter than equip an army valiant and victorious, and set over it thy son Sharrkan with us as his lieutenants. And this rede commendeth itself to me on 2 accounts. First, because the King of Rome hath invoked thine assistance, and hath sent thee gifts, which thou hast accepted; and secondly, because while no enemy dareth attack our country, thine army may go forth safely, and, should it succour the King of Graecia land and defeat his foe, the glory will be thine. Moreover, the news of it will be noised abroad in all cities and countries, and especially when the tidings shall reach the islands of the ocean, and the kings of Mauritania shall hear it, they will send thee offerings of rarities and pay thee tribute of money." The king, pleased by the Wazir's words and approving his rede, gave him a dress of honour and said to him, "Of the like of thee should kings ask counsel, and it seems fit that thou shouldst conduct the van of our army, and our son Sharrkan command the main battle." Then he sent for his son, who came and kissed ground before him and sat down. And he expounded to him the matter, telling him what the ambassadors and the Wazir Dandan had said, and he charged him to take arms and equip himself for the campaign, enjoining him not to gainsay Dandan in aught he should do. Moreover, he ordered him to pick out of his army 10,000 horsemen, armed cap à pie, and inured to onset and stress of war. Accordingly Sharrkan arose on the instant and chose out a myriad of horsemen, after which he entered his palace and mustered his host and distributed largesse to them, saying, "Ye have delay of 3 days." They kissed the earth before him in obedience to his commands, and began at once to lay in munitions and provide provisions for the occasion. Whilst Sharrkan repaired to the armouries and took therefrom whatsoever he required of arms and armour, and thence to the stable where he chose horses of choice blood and others. When the appointed 3 days were ended, the army drew out of the suburbs of Baghdad city, and King Omar came forth to take leave of his son, who kissed the ground before him and received from the king 7 parcels of money. Then he turned to Dandan and commended to his care the army of his son. And the Wazir kissed the ground before him and answered, "I hear and I obey." And lastly he charged Sharrkan that he should consult the Wazir on all occasions, which he promised to do. After this the King returned to his city and Sharrkan ordered the officers to muster their troops in battle array. So they mustered them, and their number was 10,000 horsemen, besides footmen and camp followers. Then they loaded their baggage on their beasts, and the war drums beat and the trumpets blared and the bannerols and standards were unfurled, whilst Sharrkan mounted horse, with the Wazir Dandan by his side, and the colours fluttering over their heads. So the host fared forth and stinted not faring, with the ambassadors preceding them, till day departed and night drew nigh, when they alighted and encamped for the night. And as soon as Allah caused the morn to morrow, they mounted and tried on, guided by the ambassadors, for a space of 20 days, and by the night of the 21st they came to a fine and spacious Wady, well grown with trees and shrubbery. Here Sharrkan ordered them to alight and commanded a 3 days' halt; so they dismounted and pitched their tents, spreading their camp over the right and the left slopes of the extensive valley, whilst the Wazir Dandan and the ambassadors of King Afridun pitched in the soul of the Wady. As for Sharrkan, he tarried behind them for a while, till all had dismounted and had dispersed themselves over the valley sides. He then slacked the reins of his steed, being minded to explore the Wady and to mount guard in his own person, because of his father's charge and owing to the fact that they were on the frontier of Grisha land and in the enemy's country. So he rode out alone after ordering his armed slaves and his bodyguard to camp near the Wazir Dandan, and he fared on along the side of the valley till a fourth part of the night was past, when he felt tired and drowsiness overcame him, so that he could no longer urge horse with heel. Now he was accustomed to take rest on horseback, so when slumber overpowered him, he slept and the steed ceased not going on with him till half the night was spent and entered one of the thickets, which was dense with growth. But Sharrkan awoke not until his horse stumbled over wooded ground. Then he started from sleep and found himself among the trees. And the moon arose and shone brightly over the two horizons, eastern and western. He was startled when he found himself alone in this place and said the say which never yet shamed its sayer, "There is no Majesty and there is no might save in Allah, the Glorious, the Great!" But as he rode on, in fear of wild beasts, behold, the moon spread her glad light over a meadow as if it were on the meads of Paradise, and he heard pleasant voices and a loud noise of talk and laughter captivating the senses of men. So King Sharrkan alighted and, tying his steed to one of the trees, went over a little way till he came upon a stream and heard a woman talking in Arabic and saying, "Now, by the Crush of the Messiah, this is not well of you! But whoso utters a word, I will throw her and truss her up with her own girdle." He kept walking in the direction of the sound, and when he reached the further side, he looked and behold, a stream was gushing and flowing, and antelopes at large were frisking and roving, and wild cattle amid the pasture moving, and birds expressed joy and gladness in their divers tongues, and that place was purfled with all manner flowers and green herbs, even as a poet described it in these couplets: "Most beautiful is earth in budding bloom, when lucid waters course through plain and wood. No work but His, the All Great, the All Glorious. Giver of all gifts, giver